Hey guys, Jess again with Unbound Media. This is kind of a frequently asked question amongst my personal group of friends and family, and that is, how did you find out that you have type 1 diabetes? So, let's get into that. This very long story actually started with a Facebook post. So I had noticed that there's just some weird things going on with my body. First of all, I lost about 40 pounds in 2 months, which is pretty alarming. I didn't really think much of it until one day I noticed that none of my clothes were fitting. And I kind of got excited. It's like, yeah, I'm getting into shape without doing anything different. That was cool. And then something else I noticed is I couldn't stop drinking water. It was like I had an unquenchable thirst. I was always chugging water. And then, of course, because I was drinking water all the time, I was urinating a lot. And I noticed that symptom popping up, which was kind of odd, but I just kind of equated, like I'm just thirsty or whatever, because I'm working out, and then I'm going to the bathroom a lot because I'm just pumping myself full of water. And then some interesting side effects started happening. My brain was foggy. I couldn't focus. I was not the most cognitive person on the face of the earth. We'll just put it there. I just started feeling yucky, just in general yucky. So after maybe a couple more weeks of feeling this way, that yucky feeling just started getting worse and worse, and I just felt like I was getting weak. I posted on Facebook, hey, here are my symptoms, everybody, for all of my nurse friends that are out there. Should I go see a doctor or not? These are just random symptoms. I had no clue what diabetes was at this point, but there are several people that posted, you might have diabetes. You should probably go get checked out. So I planned on scheduling a normal doctor's appointment. Then somebody was like, you should maybe take a ketone test. And so I did, and the strip was pretty much as black as the strip can get. So that person was like, you need to go to the ER, now. So I did, and I went to the ER at our local hospital. I'm not gonna say the name of it. I showed up and I told them, hey, I might have diabetes. I peed on the stick thingy and it's black, and there's just a lot of weird symptoms. So they did a blood sugar check, and I was like 430, and they said, oh, your sugars are a little elevated. Come back and get a room, and we'll just kind of check you out and get you normal. I was like, all right, cool. Once again, not really knowing what diabetes is or anything like that. They put me in a room and they gave me insulin, and it didn't take long at all for my sugars to come down into the low 200s. And after that, a different lady came back. She said, oh yeah, you have type 2 diabetes. Here's some metformin, and follow up with your family doctor, and because I had an appointment set for a checkup in 2 weeks. So I was like, all right, cool, they found me out. Type 2 diabetes, take this pill, call it a day. So I went home and I took that pill, and I kept checking my blood sugars just because I was interested, and it seemed like the pill was doing nothing. And now, on top of everything else, I can't stop throwing up because the pill is upsetting my stomach. And 2 days later, it seems like my blood sugars just kind of peaked at about 500, and they wouldn't come back down from 500. So that yucky feeling I had just amplified, it just ramped up hardcore. I ended up going to a different hospital, and I got checked into an ER there, and the ER ended up putting me in I forget the name of the unit, but it's one step down from the intensive care unit. They did a bunch of blood tests, they gave me insulin, and once again blood sugars came back down, and pretty much everybody that was working there said, you're probably a type 1 diabetic, which is odd because I'm old. Last year I was 29. That's when all this came out. So I was like, all right, I don't know what to do with that information. So they held me there and they observed me and kind of like what my body was doing with the food and how much insulin I was taking and all that. I met with a diabetic educator, and she basically went through the what is a diabetic, what do they deal with, where does it come from, that kind of stuff. Just taught me about what the condition's all about. And then I met with an endocrinologist when I was in that hospital room, and he said, I want to see you in 3 weeks. Apparently it's really hard to get an appointment with him. So I said, all right. So I got released from the ER that day with the insulin prescription. And it seemed like for the 3 weeks, like my sugars were relatively under control. Now I say relatively under control, I was still like high 100s, low 200s consistently, with a random spike above 300 or whatever. So he took me into his office, and after looking at everything, when I got to that appointment, he said, yeah, I think you're a type 2 diabetic, which means you can either A, take these pills that I'm going to give you for the rest of your life and call that good, or you can do diet and exercise and regulate that way. So I left the office again thinking I was a type 2 diabetic. I was determined, like, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to do this right, and I'm not going to pay hundreds of dollars for medications forever. So I did that, and the diet and the exercise and stuff like that, and it seemed like my diabetes was gone, just cured out of the blue, like no more, bye-bye diabetes. And so that was super exciting. I just stopped keeping track, and I stopped taking pills because my sugars were fine without them. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, call it a day. I was eating conscientiously. And then fast forward a few months later, that feeling started coming back. And I was like, man, like something doesn't feel right. So I did a blood sugar check, and it was back up in the 400s. So I was like, oh no, here we go again. So I would check it periodically. And it just seemed like it was like there, and then it wasn't. And then it was there, and then it wasn't. And then consistently blood sugars were super high. And so I called the guy, he sent the medication. Medication didn't do anything. It didn't bring down my sugars, just upset my stomach. So we go back into diabetic ketoacidosis. So at that point I was like, I just want fresh eyes to look at my situation, because this is weird. Like it went away, and then it came back, then I'm in type 1, then I'm in type 2. I don't know what to do. So I went to a new endocrinologist, and he did a C-peptide test and some other blood testing, and took my A1C, which was 14. And he was beside himself that I hadn't had a stroke at that point. My average blood sugar was like 420, something like that. It was high. So after the blood test, he had determined that I was not a type 2 diabetic, that I was a type 1, that I don't have much beta cell function at all. And it's actually went down from when I was in that one hospital room. I forget the name of the unit, but anyhow. So he started me on insulin therapy, and boom, sugars got back under control. And a couple weeks later, he gave me my pump, and here I am today. So that is my crazy, annoying story about how I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. One of your body's main sources of energy is glucose, sugar. It's taken into your cells, and your cells use it for energy, basically. And somebody with any sort of diabetes is not using that glucose because of either a resistance of the hormone called insulin, or you just don't make the hormone of insulin. What insulin does is it allows your body to use that glucose. A type 2 diabetic means they are making the insulin, but their body isn't using it correctly. And that can sometimes be regulated with lifestyles and stuff like that. Then there's a type 1 diabetic, where it's an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks your beta cells, which are made in your pancreas, and those beta cells are what make insulin. So basically you're just not making insulin. A simpler way of putting it is insulin is the key that brings glucose into your body. Type 1 diabetics just don't have the keys. They're keyless. Type 2 diabetics have the keys, but they're broken. So in my case, I just don't have the keys. So yeah, I am still getting used to this whole thing, the lifestyle that comes along with it. It seems like since I came back the second time, I came back with a fiery force. Experiencing hypoglycemia is rough. I'll talk about that in a different video. But for the most part, since I've been on the pump, my sugars have not gone into the 200s. And if they do, it's not for long, and it's not like really high 200s, so that's cool. Well, that's kind of how I got to where I am. So if you guys have any other questions, please put them in the comments or reach out to me on Facebook. Just keep watching this channel. Go ahead and like this video, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, just so I can stay up to date. And as I learn in this process and come across different things, I'm going to be happy to talk about it and just relay that information to you. Update, I'm going to do a video that compares my Medtronic continual glucose monitoring system to my Dexcom G6. I'm not going to put too many spoilers out there right now, but just know that video is coming and it should be awesome. So thank you for bearing with me. Really appreciate the support that you guys have and just your interest in this topic. I feel like awareness really needs to be raised when it comes to type 1 diabetes, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of out in left field when it comes to what is type 1 diabetes. Even that ER nurse that sent me home without any diabetes education, just prescribed some metformin and said, see your family doctor in 2 weeks. It's a topic that needs to be brought up more. It's a topic that needs more awareness, and I'm gonna do everything I can to spread that awareness and just talk about my new lifestyle. And yeah, so it is late. I'm gonna hit the hay. Thank you guys for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.